Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Gainer Gossip. As always, I am Pluto, and with me.
I'm Jenny.
And why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest since it is your friend?
She's my sister. This is my amazing best friend, Isabel. She is incredible. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about her. We're going to be talking about mental health and a little bit about filmmaking as well. So, Isabel, my wonderful bestie, introduce yourself.
My name's Isabel. I have been friends with Ginny for I wouldn't say 10 years, but for sure, like more than 5 years. Like for sure.
Yeah.
So, like,
It has been around that actually. Wow.
yeah, I've been friends with Ginny for a very long time. And then she brought Justin into the picture. And yeah, and we have been friends for a really long time. And I got into mental health, that's definitely been since since I was like 18 is when I started like going through that. But for film, that was definitely around the same age because I was in high school and I was taking this theater arts class and I really liked it. And then when I went into college, I just like instantly started pursuing that. So they both are pretty like close to each other.
Yeah. And I just realized how long we've been friends for. We've been friends for 8.5 years.
A long
Wow,
Damn.
it is close to 10
time.
years. That's crazy. I didn't realize that, dude. Wow.
That's because
But
you have to like go back and actually think about the years because like you don't sometimes you don't really stop and think about that. You're more so just like taking it all in of like, oh, like we've just been friends and this is like how we like are. And then you have to go
yes.
back and think like, oh my God, wait, actually it's actually been this long. It's
Yeah.
been like a long time.
And what I love so much, okay, we're gonna get questions in 1 second, I promise, audience. What I love so much about our friendship though is the fact that like we're best friends, like we're literally like sisters, and we don't even live close to each other, but we're like we contact each other like first, like
Oh
all the time.
yeah. Yeah,
Like
that's
I love that.
like
We're
if
just so close.
because like with like friendships, like as far as friendships, like we have like a long distance friendship, but we're like super good at maintaining that because we
Yeah.
both just love like talking to
Yeah.
each other. So it's like
And we did live in the same area for like what, like 2 years, right? And
yes,
then
when I moved
yeah,
in 2016, you moved back to Ohio. I think you moved back into Ohio like 2017 or
yeah,
Yeah,
2018.
it was 2017 because it was like right after we started dating. It was like 6 months later. So yeah, I've been
yeah.
2017.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay, guys, we're getting off topic. We tend to do this, me and
Yeah,
Isabel.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go into the first question. What is the most important thing about mental health for you?
Gosh, the most important thing about my mental health. I think for me personally, like one being aware of it because that's super important, and also just like figuring out ways that you can go about um like not like calming yourself through it, but like trying to like get yourself through it. So like for me, like one of the things I've learned like through my therapist is like find the things that you love to do most that like just bring you like pure joy and happiness, or just like or in a way like that like just calms your mind. So for
Yeah,
me it's like sometimes it's I could be watching a TV show, sometimes I could be like just like taking a shower. Like it's just for me like the most important thing about mental health is being aware of it and how
yeah,
to go about, like being able to like live through it and maintain it. Because the thing about like I feel like with mental health is like some people, not everybody out there, but some people think of it as something else like, oh, it's a sickness and then it'll go away, but it's not. It's legit
right.
something that you can live with for the rest of your life, and it's just something that you have to maintain when you have your time period of like, when you're just really bad and you're going through a mental episode. So I think that's the one thing that I've learned is the most important thing is like treat it like it's like something that you should be able to learn how to like go about like figuring out what's the best way to like work through this and not fix, because it's not like a fixated thing. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
how can I manage, how can I like go through this and be okay.
Yeah,
That
there's
kind
yeah,
of
there's really nothing to like stop it. It's honestly it's either you learn to manage it in some way, either with medicine or with like certain like activities or like
coping
ways of
yeah.
expressing stuff. But at the end of the day, like it's something there's no cure at all. So like it's something
Yeah,
you have to manage pretty much your whole life. So it's
yeah,
finding out what works for
exactly.
you and then adapting because honestly I think a lot of stuff also you have to change and like freshen up too because after so long they now will get stale and you'll need to find other methods to help too. So
yeah.
just constantly
Yeah.
managing that is probably the most important thing for sure.
I agree. And I like that what both of you said, but I like that you said too, Izzy, like you do things sometimes to help you, because I'm the same way. The things you were saying, like a shower or a TV show or something like that, because that also helps me. Kind of escaping when you're watching a TV show, you're kind of escaping into like a fantasy world, you know? And it kind of helps like just being in that world or playing a video game. If you're really
Yeah.
like if Disney Dreamlight, for instance, like that always
Or
helps
you're
me.
me and you do all those at once.
Yeah.
I think like
That too.
the thing about it is though, it's like it's just because of the fact, the reason why I said the first thing is like some people, like people in my life, like my parents for example, made me feel like, oh, it's something that'll just go away. So I
Yeah.
had to get through that point where it's like, no, it's not going to go away, and like just not surround myself with people who see it like that. Like I try
Yeah.
my very best to surround myself now with people who understand like this is what I have,
Hmm.
these are my triggers, and this is what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, because like I can just like start having a panic attack or anxiety attack, and it's so
Right.
it's scary, and like we laugh about it, but it's also because like we're able to, like we've all learned in our own ways how to cope and get through it, which is why
Yeah.
we're able to help like other people if they're going through it, help them because we've lived through it. But it is like obviously it's a very very serious thing, and it's definitely something that I wish more people would understand, that like, well, I do think a lot more people now are understanding of it,
Yeah,
but like
definitely.
parents generation are not understanding of the fact that like it's not something that goes away. It's definitely something
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
maintain and go through and like try to figure your best way to like live through it, because that's what it is. You have to live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like what you're saying is so true too. Like you guys can probably both agree with this. Like our parents' generation more so like didn't really acknowledge mental health, and previous generations before that, like, and if they did have mental health, they'd be ashamed of it. Like they wouldn't understand that it's okay
Hmm.
to have that we all have triggers, we all have anxiety, we all have different mental health problems, you know? There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just another thing that, you know, like you said, you have to maintain and control and try to work through, but it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I feel like generations in the past used to make people feel bad for having mental health, you know, issues.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and because it's like, even with like, you know, on a personal level, I'm not gonna speak too much on it because it's kind of personal, but with my mom, like that's something we always talk about. Like my mom acknowledges like her mental health and stuff and tries to maintain it now. But back when she was a kid and stuff like that, it just was more taboo, you know?
Yeah, very very different. Like I definitely think our parents, like even if they were going through some sort of like anxiety or panic, even though that wasn't the terminology back then, it was
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
whatever the terminology was back then, their parents probably made them feel like, oh, like whatever, brush it through, you're fine. Whereas like now we know as people that, oh, this is something we don't brush through, this is something we actually have to sit down and like work through. And my parents, well, my dad more specifically was the person who was like, oh, brush through it, but my mom was more like understanding to it, to the point of like telling me like, hey, like, you know, if you're feeling
Yeah.
like, you know, take a breath or whatever. And like it's just I'm really thankful the fact that mental health like awareness and like people talking about it now has changed tremendously.
Hmm.
So that's like I feel like the good
Yeah.
thing is changed tremendously, and how people perceive it and see it is a lot different today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
There's definitely
definitely.
a lot more like science and research on it, and there's a lot more people talking about it because it's not taboo anymore. But like that
Yeah.
older generation, like I'd probably say from like the older end of Gen X up, probably.
Yeah.
So like, what is that like?
Probably. Yeah.
I think your brother's a Gen X, so probably mid
No, my brother's
40,
a millennial.
is he?
Yeah.
Okay, probably
Yeah.
He's not.
mid to late 40s and up. I feel like that's probably like the sweet spot. Definitely more
Yeah.
towards like
It's like
50 up
mid
crowd.
40s. Yeah.
But yeah, they just didn't really have a lot of support for it back then. And like I feel like they either
Definitely.
one treated it as it wasn't a thing or it was just for attention or the opposite, and then they just
Yeah.
treated the people as like they were delicate and they were gonna snap or something. They didn't really treat
Yeah.
people with mental health as like, okay, this person has this, they need to adapt and I need to do this situation, like do these certain things to help them so that I'm not like being like triggering or like downgrading what they're going through. It was either treat them like they're
Yeah.
glass or ignore it completely. There was really no in between.
Yeah. And like it's sad because I feel like, I mean, I don't know this because I wasn't around in that time, but I feel like in the past, probably a lot of people lost their lives because of that. Because if their friends
Oh,
weren't talking to them about mental health, you know, like who are you going to talk to? You're going to feel like you're a burden or alone. And it's like you don't have, back then, I'm sure their friends, I mean, wouldn't talk to them about it because none of them, they all tried to push it under the rug, even themselves.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't go to their friends about it or their families about it. And I feel like they probably snapped. And it's really heartbreaking to think that like so many people probably lost their lives just because of how taboo mental health was back then.
Yeah. And I mean, even today, it's still technically that's still a thing that happens. Like there are a lot of
Yeah, for
other
sure.
places. And it's not even about that these people don't have like the resources to go and help. But I
Yeah.
think what it comes down to is like it's who you surround yourself with, you know?
Mm.
Like if you
Yeah,
are going through any mental
definitely.
health problems with your whether you are a guy or a girl, like it's so important to be around people who understand it and are accepting of it and like will try to like help you or just like help you get help and
Yeah,
like important to make sure you're not around anybody who has that old mindset of like oh like
right.
brush it through or get like I'm grateful to say I don't know anybody in my friend group or just
Yeah,
in general that is like that now with me because this is only like a parent thing but everyone I
yeah,
know now who's like around my age is very very understanding about it and like takes it very seriously
Mm.
and I'm really
yeah.
like grateful that like people are like that now.
Yeah, me too. Like I definitely agree with that. I think like there's nobody in my life except for maybe like a previous job I worked. My old boss. She was very much like, and it's weird because she wasn't old. Like she was like young, but I feel like because of her parents, you know, she was like that because she had all these different issues and like she would brush her mental health under the rug. So then she would talk,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much toxicity in the
Mhm.
workplace. But
Which
other than
was
that, yeah,
wild too, because her whole fucking thing was trying to build a community of
she was a
self-empowered
counselor.
women. Like the
Yeah.
fuck, and
Hmm.
yeah, she's a
Yeah.
counselor too. On top of that, it's just crazy.
Yeah, but that's how she was with people. But I feel like, but I agree with you, Izzy. Like, I'm so grateful that like I don't have people in my life that make me feel bad about mental health stuff either.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure you too, as well, babe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because it's important. I think it's definitely important, especially if you live with it and you go through it. It's the most important thing to like surround yourself with people who will help you through it rather than people who judge you for it. Like for sure.
yeah, 100%. Oh wow, we just talked about it for 19 minutes. See, we need it. Okay, let's get it rolling. What is the thing you love most about filmmaking? I'm interested to hear this too because even though we're best friends, I know a little bit, but I don't know your like
Yeah,
main.
because like it's not one of the things that we talk about like the most, but it's
Yeah,
and for me it's like I okay, so what's really funny is like so I think you know this, like I did like a project, like a mental health project at one point where it
yeah,
was
because
like
I was in it.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
were
I
in it.
worked.
Yeah,
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 this one.
yeah, yeah. Yes. You got like the shirt and everything. So like
Yeah,
when I so I took us okay, so I dropped out of a semester because I wasn't doing well mentally. And so I
yeah,
would told myself like what should I do within like my like career wise, but also like be like an advocate for mental health. So I did like this like mental health like short film and it was really cool. Like you know
yeah. It was
part of
awesome.
it. And a lot of my friends got a part of it. So basically my like but what it comes down to my favorite part of the whole filming making aspect is the camera. I want to be a camera operator. That's like the goal. That's like the goal of like whenever I do get an internship once I graduate. And I
Yeah,
know it doesn't always work that way. Like the thing with filmmaking is like you kind of have to take whatever comes to you and then once you do that like work your way up. So it's also
yeah,
something I really do like about filmmaking is that like you can branch out. Like even though I want to be a camera operator, well, what if I like to be working in the grip department? What if I want to be working in like the lighting department? What if I want to work in different
yeah.
departments? There's so much jobs that are with film, and in
That's
some
true.
aspects, I do like that. But the one thing I'm focusing on so much is being a camera operator. And the funny thing is, like when I say I'm going to filmmaking, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you want to direct? You want to be a director?" But a director is not the same thing as a camera operator. They're
Right.
so different. They're so tremendously different. Like a director is literally just a person who oversees like the whole um the shoot and stuff and they kind
Hmm.
of like
Yeah,
idea of like how to like how things they want to be. But the
yeah,
camera operator is literally just the person who like has the camera and is like moving it and stuff like that. And I don't really know exactly what like at one point in my life was like just drew me to it. I just know
yeah.
that as soon as I started going into classes of film, I wanted to work in the camera. I was like, that is so cool. But
That
like
is
people
really cool.
ask me like, oh, do you like photography? Do you do photography? I'm like, well, no, because they're similar but also different. One is like still photography, like just taking
Yeah,
pictures. One is like actually like doing videos. So for me, I like to capture stories, but not stories that I write. Just being around that and witnessing that and being able to like hold the camera and take videos of that. I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that
At
makes
one
sense.
point, like
That's
at one point,
cool.
Ginny, you know this. Like I did like being the storyteller. I did like to write stories, but
Yeah.
then as soon as I actually started getting into film and getting the experience of with the equipment and stuff, I was like, oh, camera, this is so cool. I want to
Yeah.
do that. And it's like, yes, technically you could do it all. You could be the writer, you could be the director, you could be the camera operator and all that shit. But it's like, I don't like to have that much pressure on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's a lot.
it is a lot of pressure. It'd be a lot of pressure to be all of it all at once. And I think
Yeah.
it's great for people who can do it. But for me, like camera operating, that's like the thing that draws me the most to film. And like every time now when I'm in class, or even when I'm not in class and like we're doing like filming projects, like in the next couple weeks, I have some friends who are doing some filming projects. And so when I get in on that, I try to get camera operator, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I get like the PA, sometimes I get second AC. So it's just you just take what you can get.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite part.
That's really cool. And I like that you said like it's about like you like telling not your own story, but a story by operating the
I like
camera.
looking at the stories. Like if I were, let's say if
Yeah.
I were like on a TV show set. Let's say you love Ginny
Yeah.
and Ginger, right? Ginny.
Yes.
So like if I were on that set, my favorite thing is being able to capture it and like seeing it, but not only seeing it through the camera, but even just being surrounded by it. Because I do like being in,
Yeah.
no matter what, I like being in a filming what's it called? Like a film set. I like
Studio?
yeah, like I
Yeah.
like being in a film set. I like being in a film studio. I love seeing everybody do their own individual jobs
Yeah.
because I just think it's the really cool thing about like movies and films is like they take a lot of work, even if they don't seem like it. But I do think a lot of people do realize they take a lot of work. They take
It's a
months.
lot.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
take months and months to film and then for it to come out. So I think that's something else I really like about filming is that like these projects that people put work into, like you can see it through behind the scenes, but you
Yeah.
can also see it within like sometimes when you're watching a show. So like I don't know if you guys have seen, I don't think you've seen The Last of Us, but even like The Last of Us,
No, not
Mm-hmm.
like well basically like pick a show that you really love and like that show that you love, you probably known that they put a lot of work into it because of the stuff that you love throughout it, you
I
know?
mean, yeah,
yeah.
even with
Yeah.
now,
And
there's so
like,
much more like effects that you can do nowadays in
yeah.
shows and movies.
Oh
Like
yeah.
those alone probably take
Crazy.
so
Well,
much fucking time and production to add in and shit.
yeah,
Oh,
and like
absolutely.
two examples too. The first example is I know exactly what you mean because when I was in the Underdogs movie as a featured extra, we
Mhm.
shot the featured extra scene. Like Charlie Carver, he was the one throwing the ball, which was really cool. I got to be in that scene with that guy from Teen Wolf. I was excited about that. He's
Oh
a nice
yeah.
guy in real life. But we shot that scene, dude, like 50 times. I'm not even lying. It was just a quick scene. People don't realize how much like work, like you said, it takes into it, how much you shoot the scene. And no, one time they had to like change like on Beat Shazam when I did audience work, just in the
Mm-hmm.
audience, right? They
Mhm.
changed the lighting like 20 times because they were recording, and people think that's like live, like it's only shot once. No,
Yeah.
they'll change the lighting, change it up, and like for anything, they're like, oh no, wait, that's not a good take. That's not a good take. So it takes a lot for just even one episode, one movie. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't do
and
it. I don't like to redo stuff.
see, but like,
Even when Jenny drags me
yeah,
into a TikTok, I'm
yeah.
like, I'm gonna do this once and then I'm done. I'm not
Yeah,
doing the
he hates
retakes.
it. So he could never
Yeah.
they could never be an actor because honestly, dude, like as you know, acting's the same way. Like you're shooting that scene many
Oh
times.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like even when I do TikToks, I shoot my TikTok sometimes one TikTok like 30 times until I get it right, you know?
It's a
So
team effort thing. That's the thing about filming.
yeah.
Like yes, you do this thing 20 times, but it's no matter what, it's true. You have to love it or like it in some way
Oh
in
yeah.
order to be okay with doing it that many times because I don't know about like I think no matter what the average like even for actors they can work like let's say they have like 10 plus hours on set and
Yeah.
that's still
Yeah.
a lot. But like
Yeah.
the people who behind the camera and stuff they have like 14 hours or like 13 hours like
Yeah, it's a lot.
huge commitment. I mean it's also like a lot of a commitment to the point where like I think it was during 2020 or I think it was 2020 where like a bunch of people who worked behind the camera were doing like what's that thing called? Like a protest. They were doing protests behind the
Oh,
you
yeah.
remember that? Like there was like a
Yeah.
protest
I know what you're
going
talking
on about
about.
like filmmaking about like how we're not making enough money and all that stuff. And the
Mm-hmm.
reality, what it comes down to it is like I think it is true to a certain extent. Like I think it's like important no matter what. If you're putting a lot of hours to whatever job that you do,
Hmm.
you have to be getting paid really, really well.
Yeah.
And filming is not a 9 to 5 job. Filming is like literally
No.
way past that.
Yeah, it's like
So I think that
Yeah.
like sunrise to
It's
sunset
the
most
same.
of the time.
Yeah.
so they
'Cause-
literally should be getting paid like tremendously well. Like
Yeah. Well, 100%. Like, and that's the thing. Like, because actors get paid in something. Not, I won't say shit, but they don't get paid.
they do though. They get paid like a lot.
Yes, some do, but it depends. But it's like you really have to be like, I don't know, like say a Ryan Reynolds to really make a
Right,
good
like a
living.
really
I mean, it depends
Yeah.
on like how big your star power is, but then also depends on how big the
Yeah,
project is
because
too.
but I agree with you. It's like people don't realize like without the filmmaking, you wouldn't have the thing. You wouldn't have the acting. You wouldn't have, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the filmmaking, that's what puts it all together. Like, and that's what that was my second example. I thought it was super cool. And me and you went to the set of Baby Daddy and got to see them
Oh,
film
yeah.
that live. Because
Yeah.
I've never seen anything live like that do with a show. So like you watch the show and you see, oh, it's cool. They put a lot of effort into it. But as we were there, we could see like they were fixing stuff, remember? And like it was really cool to like see that. That was awesome.
That was like one of my favorite things when I first moved here. Is like when I first moved here, I went to a lot
Yeah.
of that's I went to like this show called Lip Sync Battle. I went to
Oh, so
Baby
did
Daddy.
I. Yes,
love that
yes.
show.
Yeah, like I try to get as much like free tickets into things or like but
Mhm.
oh, and also you can make money too, which is really cool. Like
Yeah, from the
also,
audience work.
was it lip
Mhm.
sync? Yeah, it was lip sync battle. When I went to lip sync battle, like, the audience work, you got paid. So not only do you get paid, but if you're into filming like me, you get to see all this like behind the camera stuff. So
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
like a bonus. And like I try to get into it even now, but ever since like COVID hit, it's a little bit more harder to get tickets to go
Oh,
see.
is it?
Yeah, they're probably a little
Yeah,
more
Oh,
strict with it.
wow.
they're a lot more
Wow.
strict. Yeah, like they're like even now, like it's 2023, but you still have to like take like I think a COVID test before you go into like the audience.
Wow.
Yeah,
No,
isn't
I
that
didn't.
crazy?
Yeah, I didn't know that because like that's crazy because like when I first moved there too, like I was making income off of I mean I had my job, but it was also helpful, like you said, doing audience work because you audition for that if they like you
You
on their
get better money
websites, they
too.
pick you. Yeah,
Mhm.
dude, there was this one person that like was there with me and telling me how she made like 1,000 in a week because she did like audience work for 10 different shows. And
Mhm.
you understand that, but when I tell other people that Izzy that don't live in California, they don't believe me. They're like, "That's crazy. How is that a thing?" But me and we
Yeah.
can make good money from that.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we're also in Ohio.
mentally
$1,000 a week goes a long way here compared to LA.
I know. It's tremendously changed though. It's not as like I think
Open.
they're more picky with who they choose now because like
Mhm.
every time I try to get
Yeah.
for audience work, I think I've only got one out of like let's say 10 that I like put in to like go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And also
crazy.
maybe a lot more people are doing it now, so they
I
can
mean,
only
it made sense because they don't want
Maybe,
they
yeah.
have to be cautious because even if one person brings COVID into a fucking set and someone on the set itself catches it, then
Yeah.
it shuts down everything, and
Yeah,
that just
that's
sucks.
true.
Yeah, so I get why they do it, but yeah, it sucks. Makes everything
That
really
does,
tight.
yeah. Because it was so fun. It's just fun to experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to
I
get
do
paid.
hope there, comes a time where, we move past the COVID era of like being
Yeah, definitely.
like
I
that.
mean,
But
I don't think COVID's ever going to go away. I think it's going to eventually
right,
down the line turn into something we have to live with and get to like
right.
what's it called when it's just there?
The flu?
Is it
Kind of like the flu.
epidemic? No, there's a name for it when it's out of
Oh,
pandemic and it's
it's
just
called
something
an
we live. Is it
epidemic, I
epidemic where you
think.
just live with it then?
I think so. Yeah, where
Yeah,
it's like a
eventually,
cold.
yeah, eventually we'll get to something like that because I don't know. It just feels like it mutates too much to ever really be
Yeah.
eradicated at this point. But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I agree with you. Like, but thankfully, like for me at least, my life is back to normal, in that sense. Like I don't think
Yeah.
about it anymore. It's kind of like, you gotta live life at the end of the day. And
Yeah, I think like right now it's literally for the most part just I think it's just hospitals that are like doing the mask thing. Everything else is like I mean it's
yeah.
like back to normal.
Yeah, which is really cool. Oh my God, we could talk for hours. Like I literally okay. We already know we can talk for hours. We always do.
Yeah.
If you could live, okay, I want to hear your answer to this question because I already know what mine is. And babe, I don't even know what yours is. I'll have to ask you sometime. But if you could live in any time period, where would it be and why?
Oh man. Probably like wait a little bit before our time. Like it's weird because I want to say like the time period of like my parents, but like
Yeah.
not through everything they went through. The only reason why I say this because like I think it would have been great to live in the time era. Well, so like okay, so technically for the most part, this is about all three of us. Like we did
Yeah.
live in the time era before cell phones, but we
Yeah.
definitely still grew in that era. Like we were like middle school or high school. I don't know what age
Yeah.
you were, but for me, like it started middle school, high school, where people just started becoming really addicted to their phones and like having phones. I just think
Yeah.
it would be cool to live in the time era like 1960s, 70s, where it was like
Yeah. That'd be cool.
not
Look at
well, so like not I know. So like this is like before I know that sounds crazy. It's just because I'm the type of person that like I just really like to like right now what we're doing. I like to
Yeah.
talk. I like to go out and like, you know, meet with my friends and like have a good time dancing or go to the beach, like or do nature things. Like just do
Yeah.
things that I feel like yes, you can still do now, but nobody
Yeah.
can tell me that phones and technology hasn't changed tremendously. This
Yeah.
Gen is it called Gen X, Gen Z? Was it Gen Z?
Gen Z.
Gen
Yeah.
Z is
Yeah.
the new one,
The
yeah.
kids of now, like everything has changed tremendously. So and also I just also think it'd be cool to go back there and see like how things look differently because cars look differently, people dress differently.
I
Um,
agree. No,
so it would be cool. So I would say like
yeah.
1960s, 1970s. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, I like that answer because first off, I do want to point that out because people may not understand why I'm saying this, but okay. So I love obviously social media because that's where I do my acting and stuff
Right.
like that, and that's where I do all that. But
Right.
with that, and I love that we can connect with friends, meet people that way. That's
There's
the
some
really
benefits
cool
to
thing
it for
about it.
sure.
Yeah, but but people may think this is crazy to know about me. Like I love taking days off of not off my phone, but off of social media. Like if I make a video, I'll post it, but I won't look at anything else because I think like we are as a generation so addicted to our phones that it like can get really overwhelming and can cause anxiety at times because you're
Mhm.
constantly checking all the apps, you're constantly checking everything, and
Mhm.
I feel like when you're one on one with a person, especially, and I know you have the same take as me. I hate when people are on their phones. Like if I'm one on one with somebody, I
Oh,
hate,
no.
and you
You
know this
already know.
too. You know
Yeah,
this too,
you know.
babe. Like I hate when people are on their phones. It bothers me because I feel like the attention is away from me. And
Mhm.
and I like that eye contact. I like that knowing they're
But yeah,
listening. I like
I don't
that,
fully agree with that though, because some
I
people
know you
some people
don't.
need to do something to pay attention. Like
Yeah,
I'm less likely to retain stuff you're saying to me if I'm not doing something else at the same time.
yeah,
See,
I see.
in that aspect, like that's why everybody's different. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
different in the way of how they get like information and stuff. So it's like if so for example, like I'm not precisely saying that like I don't like dislike technology. Like I love social media. I love everything about
yeah,
everything we have now. I actually think it's amazing. It's great. And like if I had like a second choice of like, oh, if I were to choose a different time era, it would definitely be more in the future to actually see how
that'd be
more
really cool.
advanced we get technologically. Like what
Mm-hmm.
more will we advance? Like I also think like there's pros and cons to everything, obviously, like no
Oh,
matter what it
100%.
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah,
So I definitely
100%.
think no matter what technology itself has different pros and cons. But I say even more of the reason why the 60s and 70s, just because I feel like before the cell phone era, um, a lot of people just more focused on like going out and seeing stuff and like it was just a different time period. Like
Yeah,
you go out and like go and see nature and like that could be like one of your things that you go do, or you go just wherever and like just time has changed in the sense of like a lot of people choose their free time now to like play video games and do that, and I'm
yeah.
one of them. Like I love Hogwarts, I love Call of Duty. So it's like it's only nice to have lived in that. Like I could live in that time period, let's say for like 2 years, and just be like, okay, cool, I at least experienced this.
Yeah,
I still want to come back to here because I love what we live in.
yeah,
I love computers, I love cell phones. Like I wouldn't change any of that because like I love all that shit.
yeah. Yeah, I'm like that with you. Like, and I think you're probably the same way, babe. Well, I don't know what time period you want to live in. I have to ask you, but
I wouldn't go back earlier than the
yeah.
2010s. I'm not giving up
Well,
all my technology.
Doesn't
well,
what?
I wouldn't go back
2010.
earlier than 2010s.
Well,
So
here's
maybe
for
you
me.
would go into the future. Would you go
If
into
it
the
was any era, yeah, I would go in the
In the
future.
future?
But if it's just the
Yeah.
past, then I wouldn't go past. Like I would just go
Here's
back to the year I graduated high school and then just
yeah.
live that as an
Here
adult and
here's
be able
for
to do more
me.
stuff.
Okay, so this is it for me. I would, like you said, is live in this time period, but I would love to see all the different time periods. Like I would love to see the 1920s just because I love that era. Like just like at least a couple days in each time period would be really cool just to see the differences and be able to experience, because then you're experiencing full life, you know, you're experiencing every time period. And then it's like you're coming back. I'd want to live in this time period because obviously with my career with acting, I would be screwed if I didn't have social media.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, but then it'd be cool to go to the future too and be like, wow, what's going to happen in the future? Are we going to have flying cars? Like, you know? So
Dude, I want to see flying cars. Like before we die,
that'd
like,
be
I wanna
cool.
see flying cars. Like
I do
actually
too.
flying cars. Like people say, like, oh, we have like airplanes, and like technically there has been a flying car made, but like I do wonder if in the future there will ever be a time where there'll be legitimately like a couple flying cars in the car. A
Yeah.
couple flying cars in the sky.
Well, barring any freak circumstance,
Well-
knock on wood, we have another 50 or 60 years minimum. So hopefully that happens at some point.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
That'd be
Or
so
if
cool.
we make it to Mars, that would be cool. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
You know what
made
I
it to Mars,
saw?
but we personally haven't made it to Mars yet.
Oh yeah.
So we do have like a rover or something out there, right?
Well,
Yeah, but like a person
yeah.
to Mars, that would be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
What if people could live in space? That'd be interesting.
Well, the thing is like that. Well, if you think about it, there are people who live in space because they're up
Yeah.
there and
Yeah, they
but-
rotate people
that's
on the
true.
space station, I think.
But I think it would be cool to like I think it's Elon Musk who has like this whole plan of like legitimately making Mars like a levitate.
Yeah, livable.
Yeah, but Elon Musk is full of a lot of hot smoke. I mean, it would be cool to
But I
actually
like-
do it, but he's not
I
the
like
he's
the
not the
ambition.
he's not the one.
Yeah.
I like that idea
someone's
though.
yeah, I like the idea, and I like someone who's like ambition about it and like putting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Like,
need
I think-
someone who actually wants to invest in it and
Yeah,
actually
that'd be
more than
cool.
just saying they want to do all this stuff. He says a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that he wants to do and then doesn't do any of it. So
I mean, but that would be super cool. Like
It would
to
be cool. Like no matter what, it would be cool.
Yeah,
that'd
be dope.
sick. Wait, I literally was gonna say something. I don't remember what I was gonna say, so I'm gonna go to the next question because we've been on this question.
know.
Okay, what is something you are proud of that you have done?
What is
Like,
something I've done that I'm
You should be proud of many things. I'm proud of you for many things, but go ahead.
I know, but I'm wondering if this is like is this like I'm trying to think of it as like, oh, is this like a filming aspect thing or like a mental health thing?
So it could be a bit of both. You can name something for mental health, and then you can name something from filmmaking.
I think something I'm proud for sure, like through mental health, is like being able to have maintained like a really good relationship with my therapist, and in order to like take criticism and like learn from like my past like things that I've had to work on. So like it could be like my anger, it could be like, you know, me having trouble taking accountability. Just basically
Yeah.
like that's definitely the right answers. Like I'm super proud of myself to have come so far in my mental health journey in the sense of like learning to be like a better version of myself than I was in the past. Because I mean, all of us as a kid, we're definitely like we have our moments where we're stupid or we're dumb or we're just mean or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I've come a long way with like learning how to like communicate and learning how to like take criticism, like everything you can think of. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. Am I perfect? No. Like I will still probably be the person like if someone were to come up to me and tell me like, you know, this and this and that, like it's still probably gonna hurt my feelings, but I'm still gonna take it like calmly and like respond in the best possible way.
Mhm.
Rather than in the past, I would definitely like probably just like yell or something and just be awful. And like my therapist has helped me get through that through that anger period because like my dad had like a lot of anger issues, so that kind of like put onto me. Both my parents are pretty like, you know, they're work in progress, but yeah, like mental health wise, that's the most like thing I'm proud of. I think for filming, I'm proud that I'm almost gonna graduate. I'm so close to graduating.
Yeah, that's
Like,
awesome.
It's a really good feeling. Like I
So
have like
proud of you.
one semester, and I'm like, and that's it. And then I start on finding everything, and I'm like, it's scary, but it's also like really exciting. So it's both.
Yeah, because you've been putting a lot of effort and time into it, so it's
Yeah.
something to be proud of. Like that's
Yeah.
super cool, dude.
And you know what's crazy is like I actually thought like back in 2020, like when everything was like hitting the fan with like my life, I thought like, oh, like I'm not gonna get back into film because I'm just like not mentally okay. It doesn't like bring me
Yeah.
excitement. But, like the thing that I've learned about like these time periods of when you're going through something hard, everything is temporary. Like Jenny, I've told you this. Like everything is
Yeah, you have.
Like if
That's
you
helpful advice.
Well, yeah, because like anything you genuinely love, like career wise or just love in general, like you will find that passion and love for it again if you really truly want to do it in love. Like it's just the thing about is like when you're going through something that messes with your mental health, it could be like a family passing away, it could be like loss of friends, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it hurts, but it's a temporary thing, and you will find the courage and like drive to like do that thing that you loved. And like that's one of the things that I had to learn after the whole 2020 thing is like I learned that like okay, like I will be able to like love film again. So it's like so yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm proud of.
Yeah. Are you okay up there, babe?
Brady Walton, so I had to mute.
Oh, and no, and that's awesome, dude. And honestly, like what you were saying about the temporary thing, I get that because like one for myself, like I love that you give me that advice because of what I'm going through right now with my job. And I'll say that out here. I don't care if people know, just not the details, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and then two, like you know, when I went through that toxic acting agency and I gave up acting for a bit, kind of like how you gave up filmmaking, never thought I'd get back into it. And then I found my passion for it again. And it's like the best it's been now. Like now I have so much passion for it. And I'm so grateful that I got over that, you know, what that my old agency said. And, you know, I got back into it because now I'm seeing cool opportunities happen. And then three, when my grandma passed away, that was very hard for me and especially my mom. And I kind of gave my mom, sometimes I don't take my own advice. So at the time, I don't really take my own advice at times, but I give my mom that advice at the time, like, you know, grandma's always with you. It's temporary. Like, I know she's not here anymore, but she'd want you to be happy because my mom and grandma are so close. Like, my grandma, most amazing woman. If everybody can meet my grandma, I'd be so happy because she's the most amazing person on the, like, well, you know, was on the planet, but now in heaven. So it's like, you know, and I love my mom so much too, but it's like my grandma, like, you know, my mom, I give her that advice and, you know, I know she's with us. So I agree with
Mhm.
everything that you were saying. It's 100% true. When we're going through hard times, it's hard to know that. So it helps to have a good friend tell us that because sometimes we forget that, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. What is your advice to people go, and you kind of talked about this earlier. What is your advice to people going through mental health things? You kind of talked about that earlier a little bit, but not like your advice.
Like my advice to like how to get through it or like
Yeah, like if someone's going through it, like what is your advice on how to overcome it to people
that
watching?
definitely go to therapy. That's like I like
Yeah.
I think that's so important because there's a lot of people who are either like scared of it or just kind of like treat it as like, oh, like I don't want to do it because like maybe it's just not for me. But you also have to find
Yeah.
the right therapist. So it's like I think it's important no matter what that you talk to someone about things you're going through. It doesn't have to be like your parent, it doesn't have to be your friend if you're not feeling that
Yeah.
comfortability. I definitely think it's important no matter what to talk to someone about it. And I mean, for me, I always tell my friends like you can come and talk to me about like anything, and I'm like I'm here for you. But I
Yeah.
think the
Same.
reason why I'm able to say that is because like I did go to therapy and I could be that person you can come and talk to and I can try to give you the best advice that I can give you.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely also like, do things that make you happy. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling stressed, like whatever the hell you're going through, it's so
Yeah.
important to step away from whatever's like causing you a lot of like stress and just like focus on the thing that makes you happy, whether that's like downtime watching TV or like
Yeah.
go out and take a walk, like literally whatever. Like I think like that's the most like important thing. And also like I think acceptance is another thing because a lot of people when you first start
Yeah.
like first start having like mental health things like when I did when I was like 18, I thought like, oh, this is temporary. It's gonna
Yeah.
go away. And it's like what it comes down to is like it doesn't really, not if you actually like go
Yeah.
through it like a lot. And also like if you're like just like the type of person that like what am I trying to say? It's like if you feel things a lot and if you just like you have like these moments in your life where things are just like really hard to take, if you have like if you just have a hard time with thing and like you need to like talk to someone, or also if you're just really hard with like certain things in your life, like maybe you're hard at being criticized, maybe you're hard at
Mhm.
Yeah.
accountability. Like there's a lot of things that play into it. Like nobody's fucking perfect and everyone's got their thing, but I think it's important no matter what to always talk to someone. That's the
Yeah.
most important thing. Like always like talk to someone and then work through the things that you feel like you have to work with yourself.
Yeah. I agree because like and I don't want people watching to think like I think there's anything wrong with medicine, because I absolutely do not. So please, if you are anxiety medicine, don't think I'm saying that, because I have a lot of good friends who take anxiety medicine. But I think that a lot of doctors sometimes just want to push medicine on people. And I don't think that's the answer. I think because, yeah, it can numb that feeling at the time, but you're not really dealing with those issues, like about what's really going on. So yeah, medicine may help. Like my mom, told me all about, like, and she agrees with me on this. Like my mom's not against anyone taking medicine or, getting anything. But I'm saying, like, my advice is I just agree with you. I think talking to somebody helps the most, because I think when you're actually listening, especially people like me and you, because we're very empathic, so we help other people a lot. And we try to help people. And actually, I never told you this, but when I was a kid, dude, like I loved acting my whole life. But when I was a kid, I was considering being a therapist because I loved helping other people. But like therapy is so important, and what you said is so true, because when I was going through a really tough time with like having really bad panic disorders, when I went through that like whole almost car accident type thing I dealt with,
Yeah.
really traumatic experience. I was, as you know, babe, like in a really bad spot. And you know that too, girl. So it's like, and what I did, I did the online therapy stuff, like all the courses, like I read all that, and that helped me. And like I would practice that, all the time. And then like somebody from Justin's work, thankfully, Pluto's work, thankfully, was able to like, help me. That was a therapist there. I talked to them on the phone that one day, and that just helped so much. And then like just like the courses and everything. So
Yeah, I kind of want to hear your take on it, Pluto. Like, what's your like because also you're a guy. Like, what's you think is like the best advice like for people going through mental health?
yeah,
I mean, honestly, it just depends on the person. I mean, medicine or just therapy or anything in between, it really just depends person to person. I know some people that are on heavy medication and need it to get through. Like my friend Becca's switched, I don't even know how many times she's switched different medicines to find one that would work for her stuff. But then some people just need to do stuff and keep busy, or they have to go to therapy or stuff. I mean, honestly, just finding the therapist first that actually is good, because there is a lot of shitty ones out there too.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
my ex-boss.
Yeah, so finding one that's good, finding one that's good for you specifically, and then finding like what works for you best, and then going from there, because it's just a whole process if you dive into that before you can really like find the right fit for you, and then just being able to like adapt as you go, like I said earlier, like because
Yeah,
you never know, something might not be as effective down months down the line, you need to readjust too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The reason why
that's
I
true.
asked you too as well is because like I feel like with girls, like obviously, like I think it's for us, it's definitely a lot more easier to talk about our feelings and our emotions. And like I have a bunch of guy friends, like literally the majority of my friends are guys, and I definitely feel
Yeah,
that either most of them don't talk about their mental health or they shut it out. So it's like that's why I like to get the perspective of you, because like I want to know of like you can like how do other like people
yeah,
perceive.
there's a
yeah,
very like toxic masculinity thing of having to present a certain image all the time. You can't talk about this stuff. It's one of the reasons I came out as non-binary, is I don't like that shit. But yeah, like
yeah,
it's just so many expectations with like gender roles, and specifically with mental health even, where like if girls freak out, then they're just being crazy. And if
I
guys
hate
say
that.
anything,
Yeah,
then they're not being like men. So it's like just so
Yeah.
many expectations with mental health on both sides of the line, I feel like. And it just, because society's still trying to fight that image. Like it's more well accepted now
yeah,
a days and everything, but there's still like a lot of stigma on mental health, especially from the older generation, like we talked about. But just like in general, there's so many stereotypes still out there. It
yeah,
kind of makes
that's
it
true.
hard to express it either way. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially I feel like a lot of people, like you said, feel like guys have to bottle up their feelings and can't express them. And then it
Mhm.
makes it feel like guys can't to
yeah,
themselves, like they can't
that's
express it
that's
because they're
why
listening to everyone
I'm
else,
pretty
you
sure
know?
suicide rate for men are higher than they are for women.
Oh,
Is because
really?
they
Also
have to
true. Yeah.
suppress so much.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
didn't
just
know
look
that.
at some people we've lost lately that are guys like fucking Robin Williams, the dude from
Yeah,
Linkin Park. What was the other dude's name?
Twitch.
Twitch
Avicii,
does pass
Twitch.
from
Yeah,
suicide.
just like so like
Yeah,
all the famous, like a majority of even famous celebrities that's been like doing that lately have been
Men.
men. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
And that's
true.
the crazy thing to me is like I feel like I want to believe we live in this, generation now where like it's talked about, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
is like it's talked about, but
Yeah.
there's that stereotype and that stigma that men can't talk about like their feelings and stuff. And I've had these conversations even with my guy friends where it's like they're not
Yeah.
being 100% like honest about like their feelings or stuff like that because of the fact like there is like some masculinity thing like that they got going on. Obviously that like comes
Yeah.
from generations before them. Like it has everything to do with
Right.
how you were raised and if your parents told you it was okay to like talk about your feelings. But for the most part, for guys, no, it was not like that. No matter what, like guys, I think in it, or not, I think I know for sure that like they've always had to feel no matter what, like they have to be like strong, they have to be protective, they have to like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
not able to show emotions. And I always thought that
They feel
that's
like they can't cry or anything. And
yeah, and I've always thought that that's really like I understand the background of it, but I feel like now it just should not be that way. And I wish it was more like acceptable for men to talk about their mental health and more acceptable for them to cry. And I think it has, but not to the
yeah.
where we could be.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
still a lot.
100%.
There's still a lot that needs to be done. I mean, like
Yeah.
especially in like more even like the Midwest in general, like it's still
Yeah.
so behind
Yeah,
over
yeah,
this
because
way.
I agree.
Yeah.
'Cause, like I'm like from Texas, but you guys are from like, or is it the Midwest? It is the Midwest, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
Ohio's like
Ohio's
I
the
think
Midwest.
Ohio's as far east as you can go to still be in the Midwest.
Just basically like all those states of like over there, like everybody takes, I feel like mental health like not as seriously as like some other
Mm-hmm.
states.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's changed because I haven't lived in Texas in like 6+ years, but like I also
Right.
they
Texas is always going to be Texas at
I
the end of the
know.
day.
Well, that's the thing too is like that's so
Unless you live in like Austin, it's gonna be bad. I think Austin's
yeah.
the only open place really in
Yeah.
Texas. It's
That's
like the
another thing too. Like
bluest. It's the only
there's
blue part of your whole state.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, but like there's certain like cities even within a state. So let's say Austin that is making it more acceptable that like oh this person's going through this and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But like Texas in itself was like really quick to go on that stupid abortion rule thing. So yeah, basically I
Yeah.
know all
Yeah.
those states. Like I wish
It's a lot of the states that have a lot of people that don't live in like big city type areas because
Yeah,
those rural
definitely.
areas that make up
yeah,
the
and
states like
that's what I was
that is
gonna
people
say.
that do that. Because like look in Ohio, like Ohio at this point is no longer a swing state; it's a red state, and it's because everywhere outside of the three big cities, Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, has gone just full blown conservative, and it's getting worse and worse again. So like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
if you look
Yeah.
at the vote, it's like close, but it's because the majority of the actual like state itself is just so gotten so bad.
yeah.
I'm not trashing anyone's, political beliefs. I just want to make that known, like when we want.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say too. It's not really what it comes down to. It's not a political thing. I think it's what
No,
more Justin says. It's more of like when people live in bigger cities. I think it's the lifestyle and like the thinking
it's
process is a little
different.
different.
You're
Yeah, it's
exposed to more different
Yeah.
kinds of people.
Well, yeah, definitely
yeah.
because like I feel like I always this may sound kind of weird, but I feel like I always knew who like I was, but I feel like I had to put up this notion of being a little bit different before I went out to LA. Like I was more of a pushover before I went out to LA. Like I was afraid of being confident because I was like that makes me cocky because that's kind of my parents weren't like that, but I'm saying like that's a perceived notion that
Hmm.
Ohio kind of has. Like if you have a dream, like you're being cocky, you're being conceited. You know what I mean? And then when I moved out to LA, it's a bigger city and it's like I don't know, it's just a different world. And I feel like I found so much of myself there. And yeah, times were hard there with certain things, but I feel like I found myself in the sense of I wasn't afraid to just be who I am because bigger cities are just more accepting of like dreams and having passions and working hard and like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
yeah. So I feel like I fully agree with you guys.
Yeah, I wish it would like I wish in time that will change no matter what. Like even
Yeah.
like red states like will be more understanding and acceptable of like, the mental health like things that people go through.
Yeah,
Also just and
exactly.
also especially the stigma of like men because it I know that it comes into playing factor of like where you live and like how you are like what your like masculinity would be. But okay, something I do want to say is that I do feel like even like let's say parents now like who are like men and women who are parents, and I do mean
Yeah.
so like the people who are like born like in the 90s aspect, I think they're
Yeah.
becoming better with like teaching even their children who are like boys that it's okay to cry, it's okay to like because
Yeah,
these
definitely.
things are important. Like I think like just as much as like we tell little girls like, oh, it's okay that you cried, it's okay to this. I think it all comes down to like your childhood. If you're like making it more acceptable to your child that it's okay to feel emotions and stuff, then
Yeah.
I think that as this child grows older, they'll understand that, oh, it's okay for me to do this, and I will teach my friends this, and I would teach my
Yeah.
kids this, and that's how you break the stigma, is like making it okay to express your
Yeah.
emotions. Because men in the past, it was not okay to express your emotions. Like that was not an acceptable thing.
Exactly.
It was man up and just get back to work, or man
Mm-hmm.
up, do whatever you gotta do.
Exactly. And that's why I will say, like, not too much about this because it's kind of personal, but I will say, like, one person that I was really surprised about when I was a kid, who, because that was from my brother's young, like he is, you know, young, but he's older than all of us. And usually, you know, in that time period, guys wouldn't cry. But my brother, like, always showed his emotions. Like, he always cried, always showed his emotions. And I think growing up around that, like, really helped me show my emotions because he was so emotional. But it was such a unique thing to see because, like, especially in that time, like, I feel like when he was, you know, a teenager, it was way more taboo to cry as a guy, you know?
Oh, it
So I
was.
feel like the fact that he did that and he still does today is something that I say is pretty cool because not a lot of guys can open up their emotions like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because they're like embarrassed about it, or they feel like there's just like this. I don't really, well, I don't know more, you know, obviously more so because I'm not a guy, but I do know that there's like a stigma behind. I do know that there's like a reason,
yeah.
because like they're just they're put up to this like what's it called? Like you have to show yourself in
Stereotype.
a way. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Facade.
Just like
a
an
facade,
expectation.
Yeah,
an
expectation.
expectation
Yeah.
thing.
That's why, like, the movie She's the Man, I'm like, I love being a girl. I always want to be a girl, but how cool would it be to like pretend you're a guy for a day and just see how the guys interact with each
Yeah,
other,
see,
like
like,
when
cause
they're
like,
alone?
I'm a tomboy person, and like I do like a lot of guy things, but like I know
Yeah, same.
I'm
I
a
feel like.
girl, and I know that
Yeah.
I want to think like a guy, like that's for sure. But
I think
Yeah.
that's part of the problem. There's still too many things that are considered guy or girl things when like certain
Yeah.
shit, it's
Definitely.
just an activity or an item. It doesn't really have anything tied to
Yeah.
it.
Like when I worked at
yeah,
Toys R Us, like I remember I was working there and I worked with this really, nothing wrong about her, but she was like an older lady. She's probably like, I want to say like 70 at the time.
Hmm.
Well, she was like, we were working, putting stuff away. And, you know, for the girls, and I hate this too, but like for the girls' toys, you know, little kids' toys, they always have like a broom and like food and like a kitchen thing. It's like a stereotype. A girl has to be a housewife or a
oh
housemaker.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
And she was like, this is how it should be. She's like, all the girls' toys are over here, and all the, like, you know, hard drills or whatever the guys' toys are, Hot Wheels or whatever, a Pokemon is over there. And
yeah,
I was just like, and I said to her, I was like, yeah, but it shouldn't be like that. I was like, you know, girls like guys' toys too, and it's not even guys'
oh
toys. It's
yeah,
just we like
Yeah,
whatever we like, you
that's
know.
still an issue. They try to
So
push
I think they need to
toys.
stop that
Yeah,
with little kids, like making
yeah,
that
they try to
stereotype.
push like baby dolls and like kitchen
Yeah,
stuff and cleaning stuff
for
as toys
girls,
to
yeah,
girls, and then they try to push like
yeah,
what toolkits and cars and
yeah,
shit to boys
yeah. I
because they
mean,
want to
even
reinforce those gender stereotypes.
yeah,
yeah, because even now, like I went to go buy like a present for my little boy Asher, and like they still have like in the aisles of like Walmart of like, you know, like, oh, this is the girl aisle, this is the guy aisle, and it's like,
Yep.
yeah.
why don't they mix it up? Like, why don't they put like, you know, in the car section, put some dolls in
That's when
the
you
doll
just say
section,
that's when you just say
Yeah,
screw both sections and just
exactly.
buy the kid a bunch of Pokemon stuff instead.
because like that, yeah, because when it comes to like I was that person, like same thing you were saying, Jenny. I liked all the guy stuff. I loved all the guy stuff, but I also liked all the girl stuff. Like I like
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah.
like, and another thing too is like another thing I want to bring up is like painting nails. So like my little girl likes to paint nails.
Yeah.
Actually wants to paint his nails, so like he painted his nails, and his
Yeah.
parents are so cool. Like they don't really care about that stuff.
Mhm.
But there are some people out there who care about that stuff. They're like, oh, like a guy can't. It's like, no, don't even start that. Don't even say that sentence. Like, don't even finish that sentence. Like, literally, like, I hate people who are like, oh, because of this gender, you can't do this. I'm like, literally,
Yeah.
stop.
It's so
Like,
Yeah, that
stupid,
reminds me. I gotta
dude.
repaint mine before Monday's
Yeah.
episode of my Power Rangers game.
like
It's
seriously, we have definitely come to a point now in our life where like I do agree that it doesn't matter what gender you are or how you like define yourself, like what you like and what you like to do, like it should just be
yeah.
like do it and go for it and like has nothing to do with like your gender. Like,
Exactly. 100%. Like 100%. And like I agree with everything that you're saying. And I really like that we got into this conversation also because I think it is important for people to hear, especially like if say, I don't know if little kids are gonna be watching this, but say like a little kid
I
watches
would be
it
very
and
shocked if we are
it's
for. I don't think
and
that's.
Some
I
we at
don't.
some point say curse words and
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't think that's our audience.
no, but like say like someone's feeling left out or like alone because their parents don't want them to paint their nails, or they feel, because I feel like a lot of suicides also have to do with the fact of like how kids are raised by their parents, and even when they're little kids too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's like even little kids can commit suicide, and it's very heartbreaking, very sad,
Oh,
and they could be mentally
exactly.
struggling. Like
Yeah.
for instance, I'm gonna talk about this just because I think it's important. Like my mom, my mom's best friend. I'm not gonna say who because her name, I'll keep it off there. But I don't like the way she thinks, and my mom knows I don't like this person because like she literally told her granddaughter that she was gonna go to hell for being lesbian or whatever, and then try to conform her into being straight. And that girl's going through like anxiety now and depression. It's like she's
Mhm.
a kid. She's literally 13. Like, well, she's a teenager, but she's going through depression because it's like she's probably afraid there's something wrong with her now. You know what I mean? It's just like I wish our world would be more accepting and just less judgmental in general about
Oh
things.
yeah. I definitely think we're getting there though. We're
Yeah,
definitely coming to the stage in our life or the year in our lives where
yeah,
everything is
100%.
becoming a lot more acceptable. I mean, that's why like there's the LGBTQ things like events and like even like the mental health awareness. Like we have a mental health awareness month. We have an LGBT
Yeah,
like
it's just the older generation
yeah,
stuff.
I definitely
That,
like
yeah,
now in this time period how we're progressing compared to like yeah, the old generation because the old
the
generation
old, yeah,
was like not trying to make it acceptable and now we live in the time period where like things are being more acceptable and like it's like okay,
exactly.
it's okay to like talk about this and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now the next question was, what are ways you help your mental
Babe,
health? But you
babe.
answered that already.
Well,
Oh,
I
Sorry.
think we're doing questions anyway. We have a few minutes left, so
Oh, okay. I only have one question left because Izzy answered everything. I was just gonna say one question left. What is something cool people don't know about you?
that should be simple
oh
enough.
yeah, because
I
that's like
mean, does Izzy
really
have
fast.
anything cool about her though?
Yes, I
I
do.
don't know.
Yes.
This is the thing that like everybody know, well not everybody because like not on here, but my friends know about me that like um I like to talk about is like my stomach, the thing like I don't have a belly button because I have this
Oh
huge
yeah,
stomach.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's my thing. Like that's the thing I like when
It's
people are
because
like
Izzy's an alien.
if someone were to tell me
Wow.
dude, a lot of people bring up that show. I don't know what that show is called, but there's this character on the show and they're like, "Oh, you're like Cal XY." That's what they say. You're like
Oh,
Yeah, I know
I've
you're
seen
talking
my
about.
that.
past in
Yeah.
my past they've told me like you're like Cal XY and I've never seen Cal XY and I was like,
I've
yeah,
seen like
cool, I'm Cal XY.
yeah.
It's like for me it's like I just see it as like I like got super lucky as a baby and like I had this thing called infolacea which basically means all my intestines were out of my stomach. So when they put everything back, I just didn't have a belly button and I also have a feeding tube. So basically, yeah, something really cool about me. I don't have a belly button. I have the huge
That's
stomach.
pretty
Awesome.
cool. That's pretty cool. I'm proud of us. We answered all the questions because the other two questions you already kind of answered. Like, what would be your dream job? You already said that. What are ways your mental health? So yeah, we answered everything. I'm really proud of us. I'm shocked we did that in the time that we had.
Because like honestly, like we could talk forever about mental health and stuff like that.
Exactly. We could
We
talk
absolutely
forever.
could.
We could talk forever about the phone book. We could just talk forever about anything.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
it's true. That is absolutely true.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we are good to wrap it up. Izzy, if you want to just tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and
Oh,
then we'll do a quick sign
okay.
off.
So my social media stuff is Isabel and then that little underscore Alaman05. Where else? I think that's like that's honestly that's the only one I want to give because that's the one I use the absolute most. So
And
that's
which
like
one is that? Your Instagram?
that's my
Yeah.
Instagram.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And then we have shit ton of. I guess by the time this airs, I won't have as much shit
You have a
going
lot of stuff
on.
going on. Just plug
The
it all.
the Sunday game on my Twitch channel at 8 p.m. Eastern for a Weird Frontier Starfinder actual play. Every second and fourth Monday on TIO, I am playing the Green Arcanite Ranger Frankie Oliver on the Power Rangers Arcanite series, and then on rotating Tuesdays on TIO and OCS, I'll be running two different campaigns. On OCS, a superhero dystopian campaign called Origin City Suits in the Dark, and on TIO, a Dresden Files Accelerated game, which I forget the name of at the moment, the actual title, because I haven't started it yet at this moment in time, so I'll have to look that up. But You can find all that shit on my social medias at Pluto Cleric. I will definitely post and when all those air. And then, babe, do you want to plug all your stuff as well?
Yeah, sure. So you guys can find me anywhere. I have all my social media the same at Just Being Jin. So on anywhere. So Just Being Jin on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm pretty excited because on YouTube we hit over 1K followers, and I've only been on there for like less than a month or maybe a month. I don't know. And then on TikTok, I have some fun skits coming up with some awesome actors that I collabed with. So I'm super pumped about that. And then I also have a new episode of the Dating Parade coming out, which I really like that skit that we do. I'm glad other people like it. Some people ask me how many episodes it's gonna be. I don't know, but we'll see. And also, like, if you guys are open and you're watching this and you're an actor and you want to be on the Dating Parade and come up with a funny thing for the skit, let me know because I'd love to have you. But yeah, everywhere Just Being Jin, and then my link tree Just Being Jin. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So with that, Izzy, thanks for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. It was fun.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye guys. We love
Bye.
you. Bye.